Thank you so much for joining us once again. My name is Clark Pena, and I'm the host of the Advocates Corner. We're going to have a very special program for you today. Tell everyone about it, share it on all your social networks. We're going to have a group of gentlemen known as the First in Law Enforcement, founded in 1664. And we're going to introduce them right now. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on this very special program on the Advocates Corner. Let's start from right to left.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, and you're from?
Damascus Township, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, outstanding, sir.
Paul Castline from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
Welcome, welcome.
Sergeant Manny Rodriguez from Lehigh County, Pennsylvania.
Outstanding.
Allentown.
Allentown, there we go.
Stephen Ramos, East Penn Township, Pennsylvania.
Well, gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about and educate folks on who constables are, what they do, and so forth. Constable Paul Castline.
Castline. Yes.
Castline. Tell us all about what a constable does. How do they get into the position of constable? Just tell us all about it. Educate us, please.
So constables are elected officials. They're elected to a 6-year term. We are peace officers, law enforcement, and police officers in Pennsylvania. You, like any other normal election, you file your intent to run. You get on the ballot, run in the primary, get elected in the general, and then you get to take an oath, swear in. You got to get bonded. You in Pennsylvania, you have the requirement for liability insurance, and then you go and take your state class that they give you. It's Act 49, both the basic training and the firearms. And once you get out of that, then you can serve for judicial work. We can do a lot more than just judicial. We can do a lot more than just judicial duties. Because we are defined as peace, or we're not defined as, we are peace officers and law enforcement, and with authorities to make arrests for breaches of the peace. We can make an arrest for any violation of the law committed in our presence, or any. I think it's defined exactly as any unlawful act. We have the authority and powers to do ordinance enforcement. To help municipalities out, or in their own municipality, enforce ordinances. We could do, enforce dog law, forest law. There's a whole bunch of things. We can do civil process.
That's a huge responsibility. I think that what makes it even more important to know is you are elected officials.
Yes.
In New York City, you have to take an exam, you pass your civil service exam and so forth, but you're elected.
Yes.
So the people of that state or that area have decided that you're the best to serve them in protecting themselves and their families. Am I correct in coming with that?
I would say that they elected you.
Because of their confidence in you.
Not all the time.
Okay. That's for another program another day.
Yeah. If you want me to shoot you honestly, sometimes electors don't pay attention to who they're electing, and you get whoever wins the election. That's one of the, not want to say downfalls, but that's one of the things that a lot of people have concerns about, is just you run in the election, you win the election, and you are the constable.
You are the constable.
There's not really any kind of vetting or selection process. Unless that political or that area has someone in mind that they want to put up for that position, and then they run it that way. But it's kind of it's whoever you get. Unfortunately, sometimes.
Right. How many years have you been in service now?
This would be my 13th year.
Oh wow.
13th year. 13 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Constable Lee, you also have firearms. You have the training to go along with it. Why do you think there's a misunderstanding? Because we have that misunderstanding in New York City here too. Peace officers, special officers, police officers. Explain to us a little bit about that.
There are some common misunderstandings with the constable's office. I think a lot of public officials think we're part of the judicial branch because we do work with the courts. but we're actually part of the executive branch of government, and we answer to the governor. There's some people think that we're not law enforcement, that we're process servers, and some people even think that we're an add-on agency that just recently came about. They don't know that we're the first law enforcement agency in Pennsylvania. We're the first law enforcement agency in the country before the country was even formed. And the first law enforcement officer to be killed in action in Pennsylvania was a Pennsylvania State Constable. But as recently, we're trying to clarify some of those misconceptions and educate the public, different agencies and different public officials about who we are, and what our statutory powers are.
All right, Constable, you just finished doing a training, correct? In New York City.
Yes, actually, I signed up for Northeast Counter Drug Training Commission at Rikers Island, was hosting it. It was a 2-day course, so I had to stay overnight in New York City, and it was a great course. I learned a lot. I'm carrying Narcan
Really?
on my
Look at
pocket
that.
here because it was told to us that we should be carrying it on our person when normally we carry it in our vehicles. But the instructor was like, you guys should have it on you all the time. So that's something we implemented in Wayne County with the other constables that I work with. But we can get our own training. So in addition to Act 49, which is judicial training for working in the courts, constables can provide their own training and seek it out. So there's a lot of training that's free, that's given by different agencies and also paid for. And we can decide what training that we want to get so that we can serve those, produce those services for our agency.
Well, excellent. Eddie Giddy.
Yes.
It's a good friend of the program.
Really?
And
Yeah.
also Commissioner Luis Molina,
Yeah.
who's doing a great job, by the way,
Great job.
in Department of Corrections right now. Good friend, and we always wish him well. We
Yeah,
always wish him
it was
well.
their first time hosting, it was PLEA and NCTC, and first time hosting that, and they were really excited to have that program, and I think they're going to have more, and if they do, I'll be signing up for more.
That's excellent. Excellent. It's going to be great to have you in New York City once again. Want to touch up on this amazing magazine. I just went through it really quick, and they are allowing me to have this one. If not, can I have this one? Because I want to read it overnight. This is a great magazine, Pennsylvania Borough News, Keeping Communities Safe. Tell us a little bit about it, sir.
So recently, through education and learning a few things about how municipalities work and the powers and authority and constables' capabilities, one of the most common, or not most common, but one of a rising issue is shortage of police officers across the country in municipalities or well, any municipality rather, whether it be staffing shortages, financial problems. Whatever the reason is, there's a shortage. And there's a lot of municipalities out there that have either like state police that are covering, a very large area and trying to do the best that they can, running, from one end of the county to the other. There's some municipalities that, have like a part-time police department, or they're so busy that they can't keep up with like some of the other quality of life issues because they're busy doing, the more serious stuff. And I was at a conference, recently, and I got to talking with some of the association board members, and I started talking to them about this, this concept, this idea that I had come up with, and apparently I'm not the first person that came up with it, because there are already municipalities within Pennsylvania utilizing a constable for enforcement purposes of one way or another. So through talking with them, one of the biggest things that we're up against right now is education. Constables are in the shadows right now, or have been, because no one has ever kind of like tried to do anything outside of what we're told that we can do, even though that there's so much more. And some of us actually, like I said, took the time to educate ourselves. We came out, started to do stuff, and when I talked to them about this concept, they realized very quickly that this was actually a good idea, that my initiative or the program that I was putting together would benefit a lot of municipalities. So they had me come up with an article. I wrote it for them, and they overlooked it. Did some fact checking on it, and then posted it for all the municipalities to.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm going to read it. I know it's a great article, and a lot of people are going to reach out to us and try to read it as well and see how they can get their hands on this. So please, tune in, Google it, and that's a big thing now. Everyone's Googling, so that's look it up. Look it up. It's a great magazine, and I look forward to reading the article, sir. We also have here with us, and I know this brother. What do they say, Manny? A brother from another mother?
Brother from
Another mother. We have Constable Manuel Rodriguez, who's a sergeant. Where are you from, Sergeant?
I'm originally from New York City, from the Bronx. Grew up on Simpson Street, right across the street from the Fort Apache,
That's
the
right.
401. I'm also a member of the National Latino Officers Association. I'm on the executive board with all the guys that you know.
Mention the former president. We got to give him some props.
Oh, Anthony Miranda.
Anthony Miranda,
I'm
very
proud
very
of him.
proud of him.
He's a five-star
chief
chief
in New
of
York
the
City.
New York City Sheriff's Department.
One of Eric Adams' best appointments.
Right, and I know Eric Adams for like 30 years. Eric knows
Yes.
about my case when I make case law. I make case law not only for the constables, for every law enforcement
I
throughout
remember.
the United States.
I followed you guys
That's
very
a
closely.
Lyosha 218, which is the federal law.
Tell us a little bit about that, Manny.
Well, it was implemented when President Bush, right after 9/11, he put that law into effect for all law enforcement officers, retired and active. If we got attacked in the United States, we could all be activated. And Pennsylvania State Constables are part of the executive branch of the government. So if anything was to happen, if we were attacked by China right now, and they activated all of us to protect our homeland, we're the soldiers on the ground, besides the military.
And I think that's very important. It's something I've realized that in my years of running around with law enforcement agencies and officials and elected officials, you're the heroes when something goes bad. And afterwards, they seem to kind of chastise you, and the community goes a separate way. But that's a conversation for another program, another day. Let's continue to educate people on the great work that the constables do. And we also have with us Constable Stephen Ramos.
Hello, sir.
Saludos, bienvenido.
Gracias, gracias.
Tell us about yourself. How did you get involved in this excellent type of work?
All right. So I'm actually originally from Brooklyn, born and raised in Brooklyn. My family moved to Pennsylvania in the 80s, and over the last 20 years, I've been active in our local community in different political spheres. And recently in our township, the opening came up for constable. So like Constable Castelline said, I went and I did a write-in petition. And
really?
so 17 of my township members wrote my name in on the ballot so that I could be the constable. And so this is my first year as a constable. As a new constable, there were certain, you kind of don't know where to begin, what the role of a constable is. So as I began to connect with different constables, we began to discuss, hey, how can we help new constables that are just elected? And so they share with me the binder that they provided you.
Right.
We put together a website. We put together, different, infographics just to help new constables know, hey, these are the roles that you have, these are the powers that you have. And also we're starting to use that to help also educate other agencies and the public. So
That's very important. And, like everything else, everyone's
Yeah.
doing the internet now. So it's good to share, have an updated website, as you well know.
What's that URL, Ramos?
So the website is stateconstable.us. You can find anything. We've provided a lot of information actually in a very short time, but we have a section there, how to become a constable. So if you live in Pennsylvania and you're interested, go through that. You'll get an idea of not just how to become a constable, but what's expected of a constable. Because coming into this, I was sharing with the guys earlier that many people think the constable is just posting a notice on the door. But as we go through the trainings and learn more about the role, we've realized that no, it has a broad breadth of responsibilities when you become a constable. So.
Absolutely. And let me just state this. The website, go to the website, but don't run against them. Don't do that. That's not acceptable.
And to show you, right, to show courtesy, we had a constable in my township before me, and so he decided not to run, and that's why I decided to run. So I had let different officials know, look, if the seat ever became open, let me know, and I'd be interested. And so,
Well, congratulations.
You could have been deputized too. There's another position you can go to your local constable if you live in somewhere and the role was already filled. They may be interested in deputizing you. So you can at least approach them about that. I mean, it's a potential other avenue, but
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's really a great pleasure to have you. Thank you guys for taking the trip here. We're going to take a short break. We're going to see this video. Excellent video.
Thank you.
We're going to take this video and we're going to come back with a guest who's going to tell us a little bit about what he has gone through in his journey as a constable, elected official. And we're going to hear from him after this short break.
Pennsylvania State Constables, first in law enforcement since 1664.
See battle like your pride. Oh, hunter, this is how legends are born. 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 Hunter, the kill makes you stronger, nothing will. See battle like your pride. Oh, hunter, this is how legends are born. This is how legends are born. Legends are born.
Pennsylvania State Constables, your local elected law enforcement officers.
Wonderful video. What excellent work,
Thank you.
Constable Lee. What did it take to put something like that together?
Oh, it took a lot of work. Most people don't know that doing a 2-minute video like that, it took a whole year.
Wow.
Just from the raw footage, getting all the constables into one area, filming it. A couple of those scenes with the drones, we had to repeat it many times, and people thought that Trump's team was up in our county with all the vehicles. That was filmed about 3 miles from the New York border, actually.
Wow. Wow. You also touched up on something during the video that you would like to say. I think it's very important, so please, about the internal affairs and so forth.
Or the Internal Affairs Department had a report on constables, and the purpose of the constables in the report was to put a peace officer close to every Commonwealth citizen in Pennsylvania. So that was the original purpose of the constables.
Would you like that, Captain?
well, so what we're kind of up against right now is a lot of education. I want to say not up against, but one of the things that we have to do right now is just educate a lot of people in a short amount of time, what constables are, what we do, what our role is, how we can benefit. There's a lot of things that have happened, recently with, with other constables, throughout the state, where there's misconceptions, they're getting into some, not disputes, but, there's, other agencies or other entities that for whatever reason, they chose not to, actually read what it says in the books, but rather go more by like folklore and law by legend and a lot of opinion, versus, what was actually stated in fact, and written in statute and law. And, that was one of the biggest things, the reasons what drove that video was that we wanted to educate and try to put out both to, the public, other agencies and other constables. You'd be surprised how many constables today have no idea what a constable is or what we could do. None. Zero. You ask them, hey, did you know you can do this? And they have no clue.
Right.
Like it's even some of the most simplest stuff. So we thought putting together a video that kind of encompassed a lot of what we can do as a whole, and that's kind of where that.
Oh,
where
listen,
that whole video thing came
kudos
from.
to you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
very important to have, and we're going to put the video up again at the end, and we're going to put up the website so people can follow you guys. And do they have accessibility to send emails through your site? Or?
Sure, absolutely. There's a document page you can send Constable Ramos a message through the
Okay.
page. There's a lot of great resources on that.
Send them
page.
information. Tell them how much you
Yeah.
love them.
Yep.
We need to show love for our law enforcement folks. We
Yeah.
really do. Sergeant Manuel Rodriguez
Yes, sir.
introduced me to a gentleman that I've been communicating with for a while, and he's going through a process, for lack of a better word. His name is former Constable Stephen Wiggs. Welcome, Steve.
How you doing?
Yeah, you look good, brother.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it.
Through all the stresses, it's okay.
Yes. He has a case that I think it's totally about lack of education
Yes.
via law enforcement official, and that's okay. Look, I'm never going to be one to attack any law enforcement official. So I think it's just about let's try to educate folks.
Yes.
So if it happened to you, it won't happen to the next law enforcement officer.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it, Constable Wiggs.
Well, for lack of a better term, I mean, we're dealing with the idea of people naturally don't know what the term constable stands for. And when you tell them it's a police officer, nobody really actually digs into the historical events of that word. And when they don't do that, you end up with someone being in handcuffs because they didn't know. And this is what happens in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, too often. It could be one time too many, But when you come across state lines and someone from another agency simply are not familiar with the term, you have, let's say, in New Jersey, you have 3 main law enforcement terms that people come across every day. This is municipal police, sheriffs, and troopers. In Pennsylvania, there's 4. There's municipal police. Well, let me reframe. There is first the Pennsylvania State Constables. Second, in this order, the Sheriff's Department. Third, municipal police. And then fourth, the state troopers. So we have seemed to taken a back seat in the idea of community policing and traditional presence as police officers. And because of that back seat being taken, there has been a drastic change in the way people viewed us. So across state lines, a lot of guys are not used to seeing us in a police manner, because the back seat that guys have been taking. And then, unfortunately, some other issues we got going on within the agency itself,
Now, you mentioned 4. Out of those 4 separate agencies, the constables are the only elected.
No,
Officials.
the sheriff
The
is
sheriff
also elected.
is
Yes.
elected as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So a lot of people always find themselves amounting us to the sheriff because we're both running the judicial system in a sense. With that idea in mind, people only have the idea of the judicial system because that's what the mass majority of our constables do in Pennsylvania. But there are many sections of the agency where we are boots on the ground and working with traditional policing agencies to combat crime every day. And that part right there is what a lot of the people don't really get to see outside of mass media. But if you go to these direct locations, you'll find that the constables are very active.
Now a question, and anyone can answer that, understanding that, Stephen, you're still under litigation in some courts, correct?
Yeah, waiting to go back to court. And,
Correct. So understanding, and let's be very careful with that because we have no attorneys here.
Right.
So is this something that's happening anywhere else other than in Pennsylvania? Is it happening other places where constables are being,
Not that I know of.
that you know of now?
Not that. I mean, I know there's other states that have constables that are similar, that are set up almost the same way that we are. And I think something was going on in Kentucky where they were trying to like take some sort of or manage their abilities to operate. I can't speak,
Correct.
Just what I heard.
I was recently
so-
down in Florida for the Hurricane Ian. I was visiting my mother, and I brought my uniform with me, and I wound up working for the Lee County Sheriff's Department, helping out with the anti-looting, and I was treated like a contemporary brother down there.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I don't know what the issues are in Pennsylvania.
And that's the way it should be. You
That's the
should
way
be
it should
treated like a brother throughout, brother or
Yes.
sister.
Well, even especially now, I mean, with everything that's going on in law enforcement, like why wouldn't you want to have another set of eyes and ears, and trained person or qualified person, who's passed whatever certifications they needed to. That's why it's not so much of a question of, well, why would we want to use a constable or why would we want to work with a constable? That's actually a better question to ask. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Look, if,
But that's that curve we got to get around.
Right.
It's so and I don't know. Well, you could probably chime in here too about what we get, how we get treated. But in some areas, the police departments embrace us.
Right.
I've been on calls with officers, or I assist officers on a somewhat regular basis when I hear something going on near me.
Right.
And those officers are very thankful. They're like, oh, thank you.
Right.
Hey, listen, if you hear that us need help, come. Definitely come back us up. We want to go home at the end of the day as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
We have mutual aid with Hancock, New York, because we're right on the border, and they're so shorthanded that they don't have enough officers for a parade or a funeral procession or even warrants that get run across the border. We share intel, so a lot of people don't know that we're helping each other out because
Right.
of the shortage of manpower.
that's the importance of the whole thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that lack of interagency cooperation, the lack of working together, is what brought on 9/11. We really have to understand that we all have a certain amount of intel that we can bring to the table.
Right.
To include manpower.
Right.
To include manpower.
Yes.
Manny, what can you add to that?
Well, I can add that in the state of Texas, you got constables that they do everything. They do highway patrol, they chase people down, they do traffic stops, they do all that.
Same title, just a different.
Right.
Yes.
I worked at 9/11. I was there for a whole year with New Jersey State Police, all kind of cops
All
from
agencies.
all over agencies. And I got honored in New Jersey and was given a certificate for being at 9/11 with the with the New Jersey State Police. I got pictures of that. I have respect, a lot of respect for New Jersey State Police officers. They honor constables. I never had a problem with New Jersey State Police.
Yeah,
Or New York.
what's really kind of like when it baffles your mind is
Yeah.
there's so much anti-law enforcement sentiment that law enforcement, they have to support each other, no matter what patch is on your shoulder. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And I retired from New York City Sanitation Police. I worked in the main office at 125 Ward Street in operations.
You've been around forever, man.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
knows you. Everyone knows you.
Yeah.
You mentioned someone that we have to give a shout out, Eddie Caban.
Eddie Gaban, the first Hispanic
Hispanic.
in the history of NYPD to become first deputy commissioner.
For the NYPD,
For
and we
NYPD.
have to mention him.
Right.
And Stephen, once again, thank you so much. And
Yes, sir.
we're gonna make it past this. A quick word. What do you need? How can we help?
Well, at this point, it's all about education. I'm big on it. Throughout the U.S., there is issues with the term constable when it comes down to the lack of knowledge in our citizens. So not just the citizens, but fellow law enforcement and even others in government powers. Too many people out there just simply are absent-minded of this term, and we don't want guys or civilians running into our agency the wrong way simply because they don't know that we're police officers.
Well, thank you, Stephen. We wish you the best of luck. The Advocates Corner is here for you.
Thanks.
And look forward to seeing you back in uniform because you are coming back.
Yes, I am coming back.
You are coming back.
And also, I'd like to mention that Steve Wiggs has a Fund Me page, you know, to support
Absolutely. We'll
to
place,
support him
we'll,
in his legal battle.
we'll place the page on our site so we can see it and everyone can see it. And please help out with whatever you can.
Right.
Or a kind word. Letter of support, whatever it is. We're all
Oh, man,
politicians.
I appreciate you.
We got you.
Thank
We got
you.
you. Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much. Thank you for bringing Steve and thank you for bringing these gentlemen here to New York City. And
I'm honored to have these guys around me. you know.
amen. Amen. I feel the same.
Yeah.
I feel the same. Costline and Constable Lee, thank you both for educating us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Hope to have you back.
Love to come back.
You know, don't charge me for petty larceny, but I am keeping this. I'm keeping this. And folks, got to get your hands on this. Read this gentleman's article. It's a lot of great work, great education, and we hope to have these gentlemen back. We want to thank you for taking the time and joining us on the Advocates Corner. Once again, I'm Clark Pena, always reminding you, it's not personal, it's always business. Until next time.
Okay, we're finished.
Cut.
How'd I do?
Excellent.